And we are live. So I
Okay.
want to, my name is Jeff Good, and I'm with ITIP Ohio. I'm also the Director of Education for Western Reserve Public Media in Kent, Ohio. I have with me two of our teachers that participated in the Showcase project from Brooklyn City Schools. So what I'd like to do is have each of you give your name, and then if you could give me your project name. And I'll start with let me see here. I'll start with Elizabeth.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Burke. I'm a fourth grade teacher at Brookridge Elementary School, and our project was the lemonade stand project.
All right. And then next I want to do is I want to introduce Holly. So Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly Heupel, also from Brookridge Elementary, fourth grade, and I also worked with Elizabeth on the Lemonade Project, but my section contained the math.
Great. I appreciate all your time here today. So first of all, I want to ask. So you both worked on a project together, and I'll ask Holly first this time.
Okay.
What was your driving question?
How can we, as entrepreneurs, create a lemonade stand with a unique product that makes a profit?
Awesome. And on Elizabeth's side, what was your driving question? Was it similar? Did you run through the same driving question?
We used the same driving question and kept it throughout the project.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have each of you answer this one, and this time I'm going to start with Elizabeth. Let's talk a minute about what were some of the major steps of your project.
The major steps to the project was first getting the students to have background knowledge on business because they were pretty limited on how much they all knew. So we used an actual book that helped us with giving them that background knowledge in those key terms. After we went through that, we did a simulation that was actually running a lemonade stand business and showing them how they could make money and what was the importance of their supplies. Along with the simulation, then we went into what would it be, how do you actually start a business, how do you get the capital to begin it, and then how do you market it so that you are able to make a profit on your product. So we went through a venture capitalist type environment like the Shark Tank, where the students presented their ideas and what they thought would be their business plan, and then they used that to create their marketing tools.
That's great. That sounds like an exciting project. Holly, is there anything that might have been left out along the way that were some of the major steps of the project?
Well, once they got their money from the venture capitalists, they had to go shopping. They had to make a budget, what things they were going to need to purchase for their marketing campaign, including computer time if they were using the computer to make the commercial. And so they had to budget it. They had to come and buy the things, see how much they had left. Some of them had to sort of negotiate because they didn't have enough money because their presentation wasn't as good as the other. So there are a lot of math in there. And then when we ran the simulation, they had to really sort of pay attention to what were the factors that changed whether people wanted to buy your lemonade or not. Cooler days, sales went down, so you needed to bring your price down. So those sorts of things.
Well, I'm just going to stay now with you here, Holly, and I'm going to ask you the question about yourself here. So let's talk a minute about what are some important things that you learned about yourself in this project.
Well, it was definitely one of those things you need to stay on top of, and you need to stay organized, but at the same time, you have to be willing to sort of let go of control in the classroom. It really was fun to watch the kids take over and do all the things they were doing, but it definitely was a lot more of I had to take the back seat. I had to just be there as a guide.
And Elizabeth, is that when you think about some of the things you've learned about yourself in this project, what were some of the most important things you learned?
Yes, I agree with Holly with definitely staying on top of how much you had to have things prepared and be there for the students and to facilitate. I think the biggest aha moment for me was how involved the students got into the project, that they really enjoyed the engagement and they were pushing us to say, what's next, how do we keep going? They were really leading the project.
So now I'm going to Elizabeth, I'm going to stay with you, and I'm going to ask, what did you wish you had spent more time on or done maybe differently? Now that it's all complete and you've got that whoosh moment,
Right.
what are some things that we spent a little more time on or done differently?
I wish we could have spent more on the technology. I would have liked to see all of the teams be able to use the online tools, make commercials using the iPad, do even less with the paper version of the posters and do online posters. We didn't have the computer resources or enough time to fit all of that in, and I think that that would be the next step if we go to do it again next year, that we plan it so they rotate more and that they use all of those technology tools. I think that's probably the biggest learning for them.
And Holly, what do you think?
Well, I want to answer both questions, that one and the next one about what part of the project was my best work. And one of the things that I worked hard on was finding community members outside to come in and work with the kids. Someone came in as an entrepreneur and told them a little bit about starting his own business. And we did have a plan to go visit a local business that we could walk to down the street. But with our snow days, we lost that opportunity. And I would like that we would sort of make more of those connections with the community and maybe plan that a little bit earlier so we can have more people. We had our superintendent come in as one of our sharks for the Shark Tank, but it would have been nice to have some of the local people too.
Wonderful. And being the overachiever that you are, Holly, I'm going to now go to Elizabeth and say, what did you think you did your best work on as far as the project? Thank you for that, by the way, Holly.
I think my ability to plan it, coordinate it, and get all of the pieces together, like what is the sequence of events that needed to occur, and then stay on top of getting the next thing ready. Keep continuously going and pushing the students and us as a team, as a teacher team, to keep them energized and moving forward and getting the project finished too.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to stay with you, Elizabeth, and now I'm going to ask a question. Now let's talk about the project itself.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to think about what was one of the most enjoyable parts of the project, what would that be?
I think that having the Shark Tank was probably the most enjoyable because it had the students having to prepare and present and demonstrate their skills and be ready, and it was the most real world type example, so it gave them something that it's a skill that they'll use throughout their education career and beyond.
And Holly, what would you say the most enjoyable part of the project was for you?
Definitely seeing how involved the students got. You know, we really didn't have anybody who wasn't trying most of the time. There were a few kids who would get in arguments. Definitely the working in a team is a new skill for them, and this was started very early in the year, so they hadn't really built up all those skills yet, but they pulled it out. They got together, they got a product out, they were excited about it. It was nice to see. And they learned something.
Well, and obviously in any project you've got the best and most enjoyable and the least enjoyable. So I'll stay with you, Holly, and say, what would you consider maybe one of the least enjoyable parts of the project?
Well, we had a lot of difficulty with the iPads in terms of getting the different apps that we needed, getting them to work consistently. We only had the 2. It would have been nice if we had more because certainly we want to put them in the hands of the kids and have them do more. We did have some shoot their own commercials, but for the most part, you know, technology was sort of more with the main computers and not the iPads. It would have been nice to use them more.
Okay. And Elizabeth, what's your thoughts on the least enjoyable part of the project?
When we were doing the simulation, it was very frustrating when our system couldn't keep up with the demand, and then it would shut down right in the middle of their simulation, and they needed the 7 days to get accurate results for running their business. So that was kind of disappointing. And then aside from that, I think pretty much what Holly had said.
Okay.
You know, Jeff, can I mention too, going back to the positive things?
Certainly.
Lori Bobinchuk, who is our curriculum director, wasn't able to join us. But one of the things that she mentioned to me, which was what she witnessed when she saw the kids, is how independent the students became. So it's like you and I were talking earlier. They took the lead when she would come and visit and see them. It was the teachers standing back and being a facilitator, but the students becoming independent, knowing what they were supposed to do next, getting their teams together, saying, here's what we have to do, knowing when to ask help, but still being that independent, driven group, which is something we want to see them do, especially as teachers.
Wonderful. And, we had talked a little bit too, and I'll keep Elizabeth here. I don't mean to snub you there, Holly. But I know you had your technology person involved also. And what were some things that, as that technology person, the technology director, technology coordinator was working with this project, was there anything that jumped out in regards to the project and what their thoughts were?
I think the frustrating part for Heidi Rhodes was getting the iPad applications to our iPads, keeping up with all of our requests to add more and more things to the iPads, and being able to do things remotely. That was kind of, it was challenging at times.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Elizabeth. Now I'm going to sneak over to Holly now, and I'm going to ask the question on everybody's mind. If you could change the project to make it better next time, what would you do? This is that mystery date question.
Well, definitely try and integrate more of the technology. That definitely makes them excited, makes them want to do stuff. And we saw such great work from them when they worked with the technology. We ended up incorporating Glogster. We did the simulation, but we also had students making the commercials. It was nice to see them be able to demonstrate what they learned without having to take a test.
Well, and then you talk a little bit about technology in here, and then I'll sneak back over here to Elizabeth. But Holly, I'm still on you. So you talk about some of the technologies that you integrated. What are some other ones, if you didn't mention them yet, that you integrated in this project?
There was one group who was learning about QR codes, so they incorporated that, and that was really neat to see. We used some other of the small apps. For us particularly, we were trying to do a lot of the upload of the video and the pictures, and that was a big learning curve for both of us.
Yes.
Well, and Elizabeth, so then I'll ask you, if we do this, obviously if you had a chance and to do a do-over, so to speak, what were some things that you might change to make it a better project? And then, as you're talking about technology, what are some of the technologies that you used? And then I'll finalize up with you with the $1 million question at the end.
We used the Cool Math Lemonade Stand simulation, which was phenomenal for the kids to be able to see how that works. The posters, like Holly had indicated, Glogster and just filming commercials was a big thing for the students. I think we could do more with, when we did the data from the simulation, we just had them write it on a spreadsheet. It would be really nice for them to be able to input it into Excel and run their own graphs from that. We did use a graphing program that was done in the math section with Holly, but maybe they could actually put it into an Excel document and learn some more things about Excel. So along with, they used PowerPoint before, but some of those other types of skills that they'll use later in their education would be helpful too.
And Elizabeth, while I have you here, and then Holly, you'll have the same question, is think about that, what the impact was, of that technology integration with you, and then what was the technology, kind of the impact of that technology integration on your students?
I like the technology piece, aside from the frustration when it doesn't work the way you want to. Because when you have 52 students sitting there waiting for you to be ready, you have to, kind of dance a little bit to keep it going. So I thought it was great. The students were amazed by it. They were ready to grab the iPads out of our hands, do as much as they could with it. They've done their own videos. They really are drawn to the technology. So I think that's great. It uses something that they enjoy. It keeps them engaged, and I think it really benefits their learning.
Wonderful. And Holly, your thoughts on what that impact was of that tech integration with your students and with yourself?
Well, they definitely have always seen tech in their world, but it's been more for games and fun. So it was a learning experience for them to actually use it at school and use it for learning or to demonstrate their learning. But then within the next couple of weeks, they started coming back and telling us about things they were doing at home now. They were making their own movies, stop action movies, and they were making their own things on the own games and things, so that, you know, they really took it to another level. And I was glad to see that they could sort of extrapolate that knowledge into something more.
Now think about what it meant to you. What were some things that you think about the technology integration? What did it do for you?
Well, it definitely opened my eyes to how teaching can be more 21st century, you know, and what we can do to really give them the tools that they're used to, and let them learn at school in the same way they're going to have to use it outside in the real world.
Wonderful.
Not just sit and listen to a lecture.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely you learn more by doing than by listening, so it stuck with them.
That's a wonderful point. And so that wraps us up. Now I'm back on Elizabeth, and any final thoughts from either one of you?
I think with the project, having the kids be so comfortable with that technology and actually having them teach us things gives them great confidence. Plus, it teaches us how to use some of the tools that they're so comfortable with, and it really makes the project and it makes the day go faster. And I think they just enjoy it a lot more.
And Holly, what are your thoughts about as far as any final thoughts?
It definitely was a learning experience, and doing the project itself was very interesting and fun. Making the video about it was very frustrating, but we learned a lot, and we hope we can share it with everyone else, and they'll get something out of it.
Wonderful. Well, I appreciate the time that both of you spent, especially time for now, but also all the time you spent prior to this. And once again, I'm Jeff Good with iTip Ohio, and doing a final wrap-up reflection video with Holly and Elizabeth from Brooklyn City Schools. I thank you both.
Thank you, Jeff.